I was really interested in your talk today when you were discussing the notion of social innovation. Can you describe a little bit more about what you mean by social innovation?
What do I mean by that is how we can, from the start, feel the community and what strategy I should take and what problems usually the community are facing. So can from the start link society and science together. And that's what I mean by social innovation. How, for example, I could create electricity in rural, places in Africa. Mm-hmm. I heard these people amazing from Harvard. They're creating electricity from dust, from dirt, and how I can clean water, for example, in Vietnam for children, so I can have saved more lives. So that's what I mean by how I can, channel the talent, right. Channel the gift, the science itself to solve existing problem that straight away have impact on society.
So it's sort of taking science from the workbench right into the urban community or the rural community and really listening to what people need rather than sort of theoretically imagining what they might like, right?
Exactly. I mean, we need theory with no doubt, but now the world is changing and we face a lot of problems regarding sustainability, poverty, women issue, children issue. And I only believe the science and technology can solve this. And there is evidence that we can solve this. Many things we can solve. And we've been ignoring that part for a long, long time. What is like we have it is in our hand. And it is so sometimes sad to see amazing ideas collecting dust in a lab without really moving them from the lab. And to do that, we need to really have another skills. I really advise every single scientist to have a crash course in business, because in business doesn't mean that you're going to be the CEO of a company or you're going to run a business. It's mean how I'm going to translate the idea, how I'm going to understand who's my investor, what is the real need, how I'm going to go about start or move the idea from the lab into the market. Because if I'm really spending all this time, all these hours to invent something, it's so sad not to see it in the hand of the community, and that needs another skills in terms of get out there, feel people, talk to them, see what it needs to make it happen, and not just only be sheltered and happy in the environment, as I call it heaven, environment of the scientists in the lab, protected, and produce papers and have wonderful intellectual discussion. That's all fine, but you need to have extra step, because if you are gifted, if you are talented, you have a duty toward the community.
So what role do you think especially women can play in this? Because I know you're a very strong advocate of women being engaged in science, right?
Basically, women think differently. They're articulate, they're patient, they keep going, they never give up. And I'm sure you heard the example I gave about airbags. When they were designed, all the decision makers were men. So the men thought about driver, protect the driver, but end up lots of death for women and children. Until the woman became in the decision maker, she thought about him and everybody around. The way we see things, the way we care about things, not because we are better or less than men. Each one of us have contributed something to society. And we look at things in a different way, we solve problems in a different way. And our passion, our caring is missing from the society, and we need to bring that back. We need to have more women who think about to put the community first and see how they can go after the problem and never give up, and how they can articulate it in a way that to find always solutions.
Right. Now, the country you're from, the culture that you're from, has got a very rich scientific background. I mean, a lot of what we in the West have as science comes from your traditions and stuff, but it also has a tradition of not necessarily recognizing women as strongly as it might. How do you reconcile those two things, and how has that helped you or empowered you in your career?
It's true, in the past, the first university in the world for science opened by a female. And then things being dominated by men everywhere in the world. And by part of the world, you really need to feel that, it's like anywhere in the world, you need to be feel confident, you need to feel that everything is possible, and you need to keep going. And that's also, for me, I use it like an energy to inspire you even more to walk down and walk the talk, as I say, and keep going. And to be like, as I mentioned, appointed by the king to be in government and cabinet. A lot of people said you shouldn't take it because this is not the real environment for scientists. It's true, but for me, it's given me a chance to be in a decision-making roles, and it's very rare to find scientists who can understand the language, how to translate the language of science to the policymaker where the real changes happen. Because nowadays, what is missing in the world, how I'm going to translate the importance of science to decision makers, to the policymakers, who sometimes they cannot figure out or they cannot comprehend. But when you have a scientist who can work in both worlds, the translating gap is closer, and you can make far better decisions for the new generation and the future for women and girls.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.